Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the seminar sponsored by IIT Gandhinagar and Flinders University, Australia. This is part of the Spark project, um, uh, Indigenous Heritage as a Facilitator for Sustainable Development. And the conveners are myself, Nishant. I'm working as faculty here at IIT Gandhinagar, Humanities and Social Science. Alok Kanungo, who's there. He's also faculty in archaeology at IIT Gandhinagar, and Professor Claire Smith, who is a professor of archaeology in Flinders University in Adelaide, Australia. So it's very nice to have you. I thank you. Thanks to all of our panelists for joining and all of our attendees. Appreciate it. We decided to convene this seminar because our project is focused on looking at Adivasi heritage and Adivasi cultural practices in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals. And so Gandhi's ideas are pretty well known, in terms of his different positions on caste, and they're criticized as well. But his ideas about in relation to Adivasis, a discussion about how Adivasis have historically understood or engaged with Gandhian activities, Gandhi's ideas. How has Gandhi, how have Gandhian ideas helped or been taken up by Adivasi social movements? How have they also maybe limited it? And about the different kind of ideas about developmentalism, about the protection of natural resources, the protection of land, cultural identity. How has Gandhi's legacy impacted that? These are some of the issues that we'll be talking about in the seminar today. I'm very happy you're here. I'm just going to let Alok and Claire introduce themselves and say a little bit about themselves and their work on the project. And then I think we'll start, and I'll hand it over to Professor Doktana Banerjee, who is a professor at IIT Gandhinagar also, who she'll be moderating our first panel with our distinguished guests. So she'll take it over. So Alok.
I'm Alok Kanungo. As Professor Nishant has already introduced me, I need not say more about myself. I am an archaeologist by profession, and by training I am an anthropologist. If I say I'm an archaeologist and by training an anthropologist, it might sound little edgy in the Western world, where archaeology is nothing but part of anthropology. But in this part of the world, we have tried for different reasons to keep archaeology as an independent subject. And it's not like that because we are keeping it independent subject only in post 1992, but it has been an independent subject right from the independent India. So let us not club that one together. And sometime in 2018, MHRD started a scheme called Spark. It's a very high-end scheme. If it can be implemented successfully, I would count it would be Indian Humboldt Foundation, the way Humboldt Fellowship or ERC fellowships of European Unions are given. And that way, the Spark Foundation, which MHRD started a Spark scheme, that is, the objective of that is, in certain field, India hasn't achieved the academic standing, what it aspired to be. So entire objective is that bring the best from the world, do the collaborative work, train the future manpower through their skill, and keep the collaboration going for long. So in that process, the manpower in the subject in which we haven't expertise would be done. That is the fundamental objective of this spark. The spark is, and in addition to that, you cannot encourage a scholar of repute from abroad without having research collaboration, of having some sort of research research output of this project. So it was done, it will be teaching and research collaboration. In that, the government of India gives a very respectable honorarium to invite the scholars and supports their fieldwork in India. Besides, it supports 2 students from your collaborative country, and it also expects 2 students from our institute would get support from their respective collaborator countries. So that is the objective what this spark is all about. And in 2019, they selected about 228 projects. They funded those, and we have been lucky probably that our application with Professor Claire Smith and Professor Chris Wilson of Flinders University, and from IIT Gandhinagar, Dr. Nishan Chokshi and myself, we applied for a project on indigenous cultural heritage as facilitator for the sustainable development. And the entire idea of this is to take examples from Bhils and Nagas, the 2 communities we have selected, and look at their past through their memory. And it is more of a concept of archaeology from memory, which is certainly a new concept in Indian subcontinent. I would not consider as India in the Indian subcontinent. And Professor Smith has implemented this concept in Australia, and as we all of us know, that in the island countries of New Zealand and Australia, this sort of approach has been successfully implemented, and people have achieved certain amount of mastery in that. So in that way, we are really lucky, and our project was probably one of those projects from the Spark, which was funded with 100% support from the MHRD. Like whatever we had asked, that was probably the maximum amount they could give. And Flinders University was very kind enough to support 4 faculty from India to visit Australia and get training and exposure on this subject. And in due course of time, when Professor Smith had come to IIT Gandhinagar in January and February, as you would hear from her, her experience about there, she, if I'm not wrong, I would say she was certainly impressed and fascinated, and she was kind enough to invite 5 students at a go to come and attend her fieldwork among the Barunga communities. We are really looking for that. And then another thing also, that that invitation is recurring in nature. So she still stands by the invitation post-COVID for 2 more seasons. And so our student and the faculty would be really benefited, and what they would learn there. And we look forward, at least, if not 100%, if the 20% of them can come and implement those ideas in India, our project will have some result, and our objective of the project would be fulfilled for the student. As for the research output is considered, it would entirely depend on our 4 people's ability to produce something. If we don't produce, it is our fault. But if students get benefit, that's what a teacher looks for, and that's what a project entirely looks for. And the entire idea, as I said, the spark was to make them train manpower for the future. Having said that, this then sometime in 2019, when 150 years of Gandhiji was to be celebrated, MHRD sent a notice saying all the PIs who are having the Spark project are encouraged to do a seminar on Gandhiji in collaboration with the foreign university with whom they are working. That was a great idea to be accepted, but as we know, the unforeseen pandemic came, and we couldn't hold it in person, but nevertheless, we are holding in virtual reality, and that reaches more people than what we would have reached. So it has its advantage that many people can attend. And Gandhiji's struggle for equality for Harijanas and other community are well known. And Gandhiji's struggle for freedom is much more known. But at the same equally, Gandhiji had also fought for not lose, fought for Adivasis to an extent that time also he had seen that probably in down the line there will be identity crisis for Adivasis, which has become a reality today. The Adivasi culture is at a crossroad where their identity, cultural identity has been in question, and it is the ideal time that Dr. Nishant came up with this idea of having Gandhi and the question of Adivasi as a theme for this webinar. It is Dr. Nishant's idea. I should accept it very honestly that he came up with this idea. He made this team, and it was only our project. And at this juncture, this is really ideal. And I do not want to take a substantial time when the panel is full of the expert on the subject. And I leave the floor open for everybody. Before that, I would invite Professor Smith to speak a few words.
So I'm very happy to be here. I'm from Adelaide in South Australia at the moment. I'm in my house, and so I'm very comfortable. We were at IITGN for 2 months this year, and I have known Alec for a very long time, since 2003. We've known each other well, and we first met in New Delhi in 1994. So I'm delighted to be working with him now and with other people in Nishant as part of the team. My background is with Aboriginal people in Australia, so that's where I really know what I'm talking about. Only 2 groups. I work with 2 groups, and I've worked with them, one for 30 years, one for 20 years. Anything beyond that, I'm kind of guessing. So I know 2 places well, and everything else is like, I guess. So when I come to India and when I'm at this conference, I am a student. So I'm here to learn from the people who are talking today. And I'm very delighted to be here. Thank you very much.